Hey everybody, Simone here, as always, with some ideas and insights what to pay attention to when you are growing and scaling your business. Now, what I'm going to talk about is the 3 keys to unlocking your leap. So, the question is, what is your leap, right? For some of you, it's 6 to 7 figures. For some of you, it's 7 to 8 figures and beyond. Some of you, it's really just changing the way you do business, where it's not all on you and you are stepping out of operations, stepping out of being the doer in your business to being the CEO, letting go of the operations. So I want each of you to ask yourself, what's my leap right now? And I specifically picked that word leap because it's not supposed to be a step. It's not supposed to be something that's, just kind of easy and comfortable to do. But what is that thing? What is that next BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, that next thing that you really, really want that requires you to think differently, be differently, show up differently, and operate differently? Now, here's the funny part. Now, I said, you might think it's like, okay, for each of those leaps that I talked about, it's going to require something different. Not true. So I'm going to talk about the 3 keys that are relevant, important, crucial to any of these types of leaps when you're really going from one area, from one level of business to another. Because no matter which level you're going from and to, this leap is going to be the same, just at a slightly different scope. Okay. So what we've noticed is that these 3 are the keys to up level from any place you're coming from to any place you're going. So even if you're a solopreneur, this can work, and you really have to know that to get to that next level of business, no matter what it is, I'm going to keep saying that you need the right people on the bus. Even if you're solo right now, to do more, to reach more, to impact more, you need to get the right people on your bus. Whether that's just one assistant, one contractor, you're hiring your first core team, you already have a big team, you need to hire more experts, you need to level up, you need to hire up. That's all the same stuff. So today we're going to talk about how to unlock your next level, whatever that is. And because it always takes those 3 main focus points. And this is really the process that you have to follow every time. And right now, we're really close to Q3. I want to help you have some big wins in Q3. So these 3 focus points will really help you turn things on a dime. So your next quarter is going to be awesome. And so that you're setting yourself up for vastly better results for the second half of 2024. So set yourself up to be ready to grow, because everything we're going to talk about today is about growth readiness. So one of that is going to be to get focused and organized, to get those core people on your bus, to really get the load off you and to get into your zone of brilliance. So those are the things we have to do. And what's it going to take? So first of all, what we notice with our clients all the time, even the ones that are coming in and they're already doing 50, 60 million, to get to the next level of business, they still have to expand their time, their bandwidth, their energy, their impact that they're making on the business. So the time aspect is really, really important, because the more you work on this, most of you are probably in a place where you're still spending, probably 80-90% of your time working in the business, and you're really trying to get out of that. You're really trying to make the flip where, when you're in a true CEO space, you're like 5 to 10% working in the business. The rest of it is on strategic growth. So you have to really start with the question, how am I spending my time right now? So that is, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more how to do that in a minute, but you have to get really honest and really clear with yourself where the bulk of your time gets spent right now. And then the next shift is you have to look at working on your mindset, where you are shifting from being an operator in your business to being the CEO of your business. So you're really stepping into leadership, into empowerment, into making sure that the people that are working with you are constantly being challenged and up-leveled and grow so that they can give you more and more and they gain more and more as well. And a huge piece of that is to get to this place where you understand, believe, and own that when you do that time study, once you understand where you spend the bulk of your time, that you can shift it to a place where now you realize that only 5% of what's on that entire plate is yours to do. So you should only be doing 5% of this, because that means you can now shift your time to being strategic, to really spending a good chunk of your day on revenue generating activities. And that's really many business owners that I talk to, that comes short because it means you're going to take time out of being operational. So we help our clients get to a place where they're spending an hour a day, their power hour, on working on their business model, where they're looking at where the lead's coming from, how do we increase lifetime value, how do we put more automations in so that the business model is actually scalable, because for a lot of our clients, that is not the case. They're way too hands-on, there are way too many manual processes involved, and it takes way too much of them to grow it more, because every time they grow it means more on them. So that's not scalable, right? So we have to look at the business model and make it scalable. So that is part of your power hour, making more connections, and then of course closing deals. So that's kind of number one. Getting that time management in place and getting more strategic and focusing on what really counts. Number two is getting organized and focused and making a plan. So now you just carved out some time in number one. Now in number two, you're taking that time and you're planning, you're making a plan, you're working the plan. And any of you who've been following me for a while know that I love to talk about the importance of long-term planning and vision and making sure that you help your team understand what that is. So whether you are a team of one or you have a team of many, that vision helps you to stay true to your North Star. It helps everybody who's involved with you, whether it's your customers who buy your stuff or your customers, that's your team, who are implementing the stuff with you. They all need to know, why are you doing this? Where are you going with this? How's this business going to grow? How do they fit into it? And how will they gain from this in the long run? Because otherwise, why would they spend their time, their money, their resources with you, right? So it's very, very important that you take care of that piece. But it's a pretty complex subject in itself. So today we're going to work on quick wins, on outcomes, on something that is tangible enough that you can commit to it, doing it consistently, making this part of your mission every single day, right? So this is your action plan that's defined and SMART. And you all heard about SMART planning, but we use SMART with 2 S's because it's shared, it's specific, it's shared, right? So 2 S's here. And the shared part gets really important. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So it's specific, it's shared, it's measurable, it's aligned with your long-term vision. And then it is resonant, realistic, and timely, right? So all those things have to be present in your planning. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So like I said earlier, even if it's just you have to know what success actually means. So when we make it specific and measurable and timely and all that stuff, it gives you very clear parameters to understand what I'm doing. Is it actually working? Or am I just kind of constantly pushing it out and massaging it, but I don't really know where I'm winning, where I'm not? So, and especially once you get a team, they really need to know what success means, what that looks like, so that they can be accountable, that you have something to hold them accountable to, but also something that you can give them feedback on, so that we can, like I said earlier, keep helping them. They need to keep improving, they need to be challenged, they need to be engaged, and they need to keep growing so that they keep being more valuable for you and for their own career. So that's number 2. And then number 3, we have to look at the way that you get stuff off your plate, the way you delegate. So we have to reinvent that in a way where delegation actually means it takes you out of the equation. So the goal here is for you to hire, build, and lead a self-led team. So that's the ultimate goal here, so that you're setting things up correctly so that your team can jump in and make it all happen. So that means you're out of operations, you're on the actual CEO work. And again, I'm going to say this, doesn't matter what level of business you're at, this is the truth over and over and over, just at a slightly different scope. So if you don't have a team yet, this is actually really good timing for you, because this means you can set this up right before you start messing it up and before you create problems, and which is, it's going to always take more time to fix it later. So we need to make sure that we know what we're going for. We know what it means in numbers and metrics and KPIs so that we can avoid all these pains. And then if you're just a solopreneur right now, and I don't mean just, but if you're a solopreneur right now, you also need to know that for yourself so you avoid all the detours that can happen very easily when you don't have a lot of clarity around how you're going to build this business. So we need clear goals and expectations that we need to set for the team. We need to help them understand what the behaviors are that you're looking for, what the standards are that your business stands for, and what the values are that are part of the delivery of your service or product. So part of that, you want to do that. Part of why you want to do that is like clarity and certainty. It drives results and it drives accountability. And to have that self-led team, you got to have a huge level of accountability in every single person on your team, because otherwise you're not going to delegate to them. You're not going to let go of the reins. You are not going to get stuff off your plate because you are worried, because the buck stops with you, that it's all going to come back to you, that you're going to have to fix all the mistakes, that you're going to have to take it over, that you're going to have to do it anyway. So that means we have to make sure that the team, anybody working for you, knows exactly what done looks like, what success looks like, so they can drive towards that, and they know what the metrics are that you are going to measure this by. And that's how you hold them accountable as well, right? So very, very important. But the other part about this is you want to protect your investment. When you hire somebody, that's a huge investment every single time, whether that's your first VA or your first contractor or an executive team. It's going to be a stretch for you. And if you are not clear about what the goals and expectations are and how to measure them, you won't know if they are actually succeeding, and you won't know if your planning was actually realistic, if it can be done. So we need to constantly look at the plan. We need to compare to what's actually happening. We need to make sure we improve it, we dial it in, we tweak it so that we are actually going in the right direction. So remember what I said. Part 1, you want to make sure everybody has the clarity that they need. And part 2, it's also you protecting your investments so that you know exactly when somebody on your team is actually succeeding and delivering, and if they're not, because if they're not, you want to know that very, very quickly. So if you did not hire right, you want to make sure that you get this person off your bus because they're not delivering, they're not being successful, and that's not good for them or for you. So we want to be able to make that decision very quickly within the first month or two, because within that time, when you set really clear goals and expectations, you have a great plan, you have a good onboarding plan, you should be able to understand, is this person the right fit or not? You should be able to know. Are they coachable? Are they showing up? Are they hungry? Are they clear? Do they have the capacity? All the good things, right? So all these pieces are so important when you're building your business, these 3 pieces I just talked about. And for a lot of our clients, when they get into it, they recognize that it takes a ton of time and bandwidth to really work this out. And many of you have been asking me, hey, can you come up with something like with a streamlined version of how we can get these 3 keys solved and implemented so that we can consistently work on this. So we just built a new program for you that you've been asking for that really gives you that quick start that can help you dial this stuff in, and it's not going to take a ton of your time. It's going to be bite-sized pieces, and it's going to get you great results. So this is for any of you who want to get started immediately, who need something that can get them quick results, that are ready to take action, that don't want to spend a ton of money on like a big complex coaching program, but you know you need the focus to get the growth that you want. And I'll tell you in a little bit how you can do that. I'm going to give you the link and all that stuff. I'm not going to waste my time right now or your time talking about this, but I'll put it in there because I know a lot of you have been asking for this. So these 3 keys, let's talk about this a little bit more. We talked about time management. So what time management is results management. And my dog's almost kicking over my mic stand here. So it's results management that we're really talking about. So what I've said earlier is you must at least set aside 1 hour a day, your power hour, to work on revenue producing activities. And for that, you have to know, hey, what are the 5% that only I can do, because somebody else can take care of the rest. And that also means you have to get really good at delegating at another level. And we'll talk about what that looks like in a minute. So the first question you ask yourself during that strategic time is my business model scalable? Like I said earlier, a lot of our clients, they come in, we look at their business model. More work would only mean more work on their plate because it's completely tied to them, and that's not scalable. So we have to look at how can we do this. For one, how can we actually deliver this in a way that doesn't just require them? But then there's also the other part, right? It's like we got to get more business in. That means how do we get more leads in? So you have to figure that part out. Do you have a marketing campaign in place? Do you have a way that you connect with your customers in an organic or paid way, in a consistent way, so that you're constantly building your pipeline? The other part is, so new leads, very important. The second part is the leads you already got, right? So LTV, lifetime value of your clients. Now you're going to have to look at how do we take care of the clients that we already have and give them what they need and what they want and more, so that they love working with you and they want to keep doing that. So whenever you have a new offer of whatever it is, that they want in on it. So they want to stay with you. And of course, that is your cheapest client because you already have them. They're already in your sphere. You don't have to pay for acquiring them, right? So very important that you have a strategy for how do you get new leads. How do you take care of the customers you already have so that they keep being your customers? And then, of course, the other part that you have to focus on are automations in your business. What is it that you need to automate to make it more streamlined, to make it more efficient, to make it more effective? So less of any person's time is spent on doing this so they can do more of the other stuff that actually does require them. So that's part of the strategic work that you do in your power hour. Then the second part that you work on is making connections, having those conversations that get you business. So either that is new conversations with those new leads that you're bringing in, it's follow-up conversations of people that you're nurturing, who you've already been connecting with, and they need to still understand you more, get more information, trust you more, whatever it is, but you keep connecting with them, so you nurture them, you take care of them, and they become part of your sphere. Then, is it like, do you have a CRM that you're working so that you can automate that, like we talked earlier, but make more connections in an automated way? Are you sending out emails to your list? Are you sending out emails to your customers? So this is the time that you use for connecting to any level of lead, whether it's a new lead or already an existing customer, right? And a huge part of the connecting, the CRM is great, the automated stuff is wonderful, but especially in this day and age, people really value personal connection. So you reaching out in a way where they actually get to talk to you, they get to connect with you personally, is worth so much. So it takes a little bit of customizing and actually feeling into it and knowing who you're speaking to and caring about them so that you can do that. But the ROI on this is huge. So that's the part about having conversations and connecting. And then the third piece you do in your power hour is, of course, you close deals. So if you've already been nurturing a lead and they're, you have to work on, or you're working with them to get them across the line, that is one of the prime revenue generating activities. I can't even tell you how many times I've heard stories of people who came in to work with us and they tell me about, they had already been talking to somebody else and they had connected with him. They thought it was a decent fit, but then they never heard from them again. Or, it took forever to get any information, or it took forever for them to actually get a hold of each other. So that, of course, doesn't work. And that's a huge waste of your time and energy. So close those conversations. Give people the coaching that they're seeking for. Give them that advice that they need so they can actually trust you and that you build an ongoing relationship, right? People may not be buying from you right now because of whatever is going on in their life and business. But when it is time, you want to be ready to go. So that's like that time management, results management piece where we're spending our time in that power hour on these three things. The second part that we talked about, that I talk about a lot, is planning. You have to get clear. Whether it's just you or you have a team, you have to make sure that you can hold yourself and hold them accountable. And look, it starts with making the decision, because for a lot of people, they don't really do planning, because that means they have to commit to something. And then they have to be accountable to that. And they love flying by the seat of their pants. They love to kind of create as they go. And that actually means you have to give that up and become a little bit more predictable, planned, because then we can actually multiply, duplicate, and do all that good stuff that you want to do when you're growing, right? So the other thing, flying by the seat of your pants, is awesome if you're just kind of brand new and you're just trying to get it in gear. But once you're actually wanting to grow, you have to get into a place where you're stable, where you're doing things that are a little bit more predictable, that that are regular, so that you can actually multiply what you're doing. So you have to make that decision to focus, to use structure, to use systems. And I know to a lot of entrepreneurs, those are like horrible words. But structure really does set you free, because it enables you to do the stuff you really want to do and not do the stuff you don't want to do. So you have to make that decision to focus, to get some systems in place to structure. And as I talked earlier, the consistency of implementing these keys is what will get you great results. So you must do it. So you absolutely must manage your time. You absolutely must go through a good planning process and then actually work the plan. And then you must have a team of great people that you can delegate to in an effective way that's not micromanaging, right? And we'll talk about that in a second, what that means. So we make the decision, we become consistent. So when you're going back to number one, now, because you've done that, that's giving you the time that you need to work in your power hour. Now, you need that time, right? Because you need to be able to stick with it, to get strategic, to work your plan, and also model for your team that this is what you're doing. You're not just being reactionary, you're planning your actions and then you're taking action. So when you look at your planning and before you really get into it, you want to ask yourself this next question. And this is whether you're planning a project, whether you're planning a year, a quarter, a month, a week, doesn't really matter. But you want to start with the question, what are your 3 initiatives? Really 1 to 3, but like, let's just say 3 initiatives that will 10x your impact. So you have to ask that question. So number 1, you have to know what's your goal. Number 2, you have to be really clear and honest with yourself where you are right now so you can do a gap analysis. Number 3, you have to understand what the obstacles are that you get from A to B. And then once you know what the obstacles are, you have to, number 4, analyze what's the next thing that you need to fix. What's the most important thing that you need to focus on, that you need to prioritize? Because if you don't fix that, you can't fix anything else. Like anything else is just you spinning your wheels. So number 4 was, what do you have to fix next? Number 5 is, what are the steps that you need to take right now? And then, of course, like we've been talking about earlier, you have to translate this into SMART metrics. SMART as 2 S's: specific, shared, measurable, aligned, resonant, realistic, and then, of course, timely. So any type of planning you do has to involve that. Your metrics are the key to success. You can't improve something without measuring it. And when we talk about metrics, right, there's a couple different types of metrics. There's your outcome metrics, which is, as an example, if you're looking at Q3 and you're going, okay, I want to add $1 million to my revenue, that's your outcome metric. But then for your team, you have to identify what are the process metrics. So you define the outcome, and then they define the process, but you have to tell them what the metrics are that they're measuring the processes by, right? Because for that $1 million, it might take you coming up with a new marketing campaign. It might mean bringing on this many leads, this many customers, closing this many conversations. It might mean you have to improve your infrastructure. There's all sorts of stuff that are absolutely essential so you can get from A to B, and people have to know just on a high level what those things are and how to measure them. And then your team is going to be the one that actually executes on them, which gets us to number 3, delegation reinvented, because you want a self-led team, right? You want a team that's autonomous, that can make decisions without you, that owns things, so you can rely on them, right? You want that. And when we talk about delegation, I always talk about the 3 levels of delegation. Level 1, which is the plain old delegation where you tell people what to do, which is what most business owners do. And it might come from a place where you feel like you're just being really clear and you're being very specific and you tell them exactly what the steps are. And I know that's good intention, but it creates the exact opposite of what you want, because now you are creating a very codependent relationship, because now they need you for every little step, because you're the one who's identifying it for them, right? So you need to make sure that you don't do that. So we don't want to tell them what to do. We don't want to micromanage, and that is micromanaging, because that means you are the hub for everything. You own all the information, you own all the strategy, you own all the problem solving, you own everything, which means everything is on you and your freedom is non-existent, which is probably not why you got in business. So you have to decide to do things differently, right? So this is kind of like drawing a line in the sand and going, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to follow a different strategy so I can actually produce different results. And then, of course, you have to set them up to be successful so that they can actually do this for you. So we talked about the outcome, right? If that outcome is $1 million, so that's the outcome you're setting for them, then you reverse engineer with them what's it going to take to do that, and you do that in a collaborative way so that they are actually part of your plan, so that they're engaged, that they feel like they have a stake in it, that they're going to show up, and that they're accountable. So that's super important. That's why just spelling it out for them and telling them step by step for how to do it is not going to work. It's going to produce the opposite of what you want. So you have to do it in a collaborative way, because that level 1 delegation, that means you're just giving out little tasks in a seemingly unrelated way. They're all one-offs. So they do this thing and then they turn around and look at you because now they don't know what to do. So that also means their brains shut off. They're not thinking any further. They're not proactive. They're not looking for anything further because you didn't allow them to do that. So you want to make sure that you are not that person, because it's not going to get you what you want. So you don't want to be in level 1 where you're just giving people one-off tasks. You want to move on to level 2, which means now you're helping all your people connect the dots between the tasks so that they become projects. Now, when they understand how to connect the dots, they understand the whole workflow. That means now they can own everything around this. So this is really, really good news, because once you start doing that, if you were in a place where you were going kind of like, 10% strategic, 90% working in your business, and now you help your team actually own projects, that saves you 30 to 50% of your time. So now you're flipping that equation already. You're pretty close to that. So you have to help them to connect the dots. And level 3 is where absolute freedom happens. And that's where you've hired up, you have experts on the team. They can own entire functional business areas. So somebody else owns marketing, somebody else owns sales, somebody else owns operations. And you're just the person who swoops in, helps with expanding the vision, building the relationships, and leading your leaders, which is your true job as a business owner and CEO. So the journey here, the big flip, the big reveal is you're going from being the hub of everything, where everything is relying on you, to living in your HBU. So there's one, and HBU stands for highest and best use, where now you are contributing to company strategy at the highest level at all times. So this is the flip that everybody needs to make, so you can get to a place where you can grow and scale. It's not all on you. It's not more and more hours in your day, and you're going to get tired and burned out, and you won't love your business anymore. So as I told you earlier, we just developed a new program. We've really spent some time in the last few months looking at, even those of our clients who can't invest the time, the money, the energy right now to go through a complex coaching program. How can we still help them to jumpstart things, to have these 3 keys in place so that they can get the clarity in place that they need, so that they can put the systems in to really deliver on that. And for any of you who would like more, who would like to get more information, who want the support, who want the guidance, who want the accountability and the community to be with through this process, we got you. I'll put the link below and you can check it all out and figure out if it's for you. I'll put all the information in there. And that could be your giant turnaround, your very significant turnaround for the rest of 2024. I hope this helps. I will talk to you next week. Go check out the link below so that we can help you make that quick turnaround for the rest of an amazing year. I'll see you next week.